Hello guys, my name is Yusuf and I'm here with
Marco.
and welcome back to another episode of Breakdown, the show where we talk about somewhat difficult but commonly asked questions and then we try and break them down with biblical and patristical sources. Marco, I was reading this verse in 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 11, where St. Paul writes, "But now I have written to you not to keep the company with anyone named a brother, who is sexually immoral, or covetous, or adulterer, or reviler, or a drunkard, or an extortioner, not even to eat with such a person." 1 Corinthians 5:11. So, is St. Paul telling us to judge people?
No, with this example, it's very important to understand how Corinth looked like at the time. Corinth was in a major trading route, which made it a very wealthy city, and also made a lot of ideas being traded around inside that city. And a lot of these ideas, because of the Corinthians being very accepting of all types of new ideas and philosophies, these ideas made it to the church. But some of these ideas did not belong to the church, so they could not be accepted. And people that accepted them and did not consider maybe like reconsidering their ways or taking parts out of their old life out, these people, if they're not going to change, then they also have to be kept out. And an example that could show us the difference between discernment and judgment is Zacchaeus. So Zacchaeus was a tax collector. Basically, his job was to steal from the people of God. He would steal from people of God, give a portion to the rulers, and keep a portion to himself. This is a job that was very looked down upon, and also, it's a sin, right? You're coveting, you're taking something that doesn't belong to you. But Jesus, he singled him out of a group of people, and he said, "Zacchaeus, I will go and sit and eat with you." Exactly what St. Paul tells us not to do with people that do these bad things. So what's the difference between the two? Well, the Corinthians that St. Paul was saying these people have to be kept out, they were probably people that were sinning and they were accepting this sense as something that's good and needs to be kept regardless of what the clergy and the church fathers and all these people say. But Zacchaeus was a sinful man, just like any of us, that was looking for God. He went up to the tree because he was searching for God and he wanted to be with God. And this is the big distinction between the two.
So, what you're saying is St. Paul is just telling us to discern what's right and what's wrong. Something to do, something to not do that doesn't belong in the church. So if something does belong in the church, we do. If something doesn't, we don't do it. So let's say, for example, a man who has a drinking problem. They go into a church on a Sunday morning with a bottle of whiskey and they're like, "Oh, I'm so happy right now, I'm so drunk, who wants to get drunk with me? And what I'm doing is right." And people there at church tell him, "Don't do that, that's not right." And he's like, "No, you don't know what you're talking about, I know what's right, you don't tell me what to do." Versus that same guy that has a drinking problem, goes to church discreetly and asks a priest or someone there, "Hey, what can I do to be better? How can you help me?"
Exactly. So basically there's a point where you have to discern this person is not here for the right reason and their presence is harmful, so you discern this is not right. This is different from judgment, where I say, "Oh, this person is bad, kick him out."
So why is judgment bad? There's this verse I also read in Romans 2:3. It says, "And do you think this, O man, you who judges those practicing such things, and doing the same, that you will escape the judgment of God?"
Yeah, so the reason judgment is so bad is a person that's judging is by default a hypocrite, right? Because we're all sinners. If I say, "Oh, this guy's a sinner, he's bad," well, so am I. So I'm by default a hypocrite. Also, people do not know enough about each other to judge. They are not qualified to judge.
That's not their place.
Exactly. Only God knows everything, so God can judge. But I only know that, oh, this person did this bad thing on this hour. That's not enough for me to know the full story, to be able to give a full predicament of, "Oh, he's bad, he's good." Right? It's not our place. But also judgment has its bad implications in the world. So let's say that I judge someone and I tell them, "Oh, kid, look, you're just You're just, you're just a blank. You're an X, Y, and Z. You have done this bad thing, therefore you are this thing. For example, you have um, committed adultery, therefore you're an adulterer, and that's what you are. What is that gonna make them feel like? They're gonna feel ostracized, and they're gonna feel like they don't belong to the church. And now you caused a soul to be lost, right? You caused someone to go away from God. Also, you can cause a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of hopelessness. These are things that apply to Christianity, right? Certain things in the church, but also just in life. Um, Also, there is a problem for the person that does the judgment. So if I am going around and saying, "Oh, look, this guy, he's so bad. He's doing all these, and this guy, he's doing that, and this guy is doing all these bad things also," and then I have this falsely inflated self, like ego, and this inflated pride, because I'm just so focused on what everybody else is doing and the bad things that they're doing.
Like I'm better than them. They don't know what they're doing. I know what they're doing. I'm better than them.
Yeah.
So how can one avoid judgment then?
I think the first step is to look at my own shortcomings. And that humbles the person, right? Because if I can see, well, I sin, they sin, okay, then I will not be so focused on them. I'll be focused more on myself. Also, judging is a very, weird thing. Like, if you think about it, it's kind of like, say, like a person that has lung cancer that looks at somebody with pancreatic cancer and making fun of them. It's like we're both in the same boat here, right?
Like we both got cancer.
We're both gonna die. Exactly. As for the person being judged, they also have something that they can do, right? If I, for example, Saint Paul, in Corinthians, in the book of Corinthians, still writes, there was the problem in Corinth where some people were eating the meat that's sacrificed to the idols because it was cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this whole debate, oh, can we eat this that's sacrificed to the idols, or can we not? And Saint Paul, basically, what the church fathers and Saint Paul and all the apostles decided, well, it's just the idols are nothing; they're just stone. So yeah, we can eat any meat. That's fine. But this caused some people to sin, right? The people that were pagan, this caused them to maybe have some problems and all these things, and they also caused them to judge the people that were eating this meat. So St. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 8:13, "Therefore, if food makes my brother stumble, I will never again eat meat, lest I make my brother stumble." So basically, you don't want to, for a person that judges, of course, you don't want to be the reason that somebody falls, and you being the stumbling block for the person to fall out of the grace of God, or fall into depression, or have anxiety, all these things. And also the same is shared with the person that gets judged. If there is a way that I can be not a reason for somebody to judge, then it's good. You don't want to be a stumbling block for anybody else in that way either.
Yeah. So St. Paul is not telling us to judge people. He's just telling us to discern what is right and what is wrong. Judgment is a big deal because it can ruin both the one judging and the one being judged. And the best way to avoid judgment is to realize that we're all sinners. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. So that'll be all for today's episode. Thank you all for watching. Again, I'm here, Yusuf, and then
Marco.
And we'll be posting every Friday. And go follow us on social media, SMCC Official 6. Thank you.